There's a lot of junk out there. It can be a race to the bottom when you're one person copying another, just doing the same thing with cheaper materials. Okay, this is a $1,000 or $1,500 device. Throw me on an $8 Amazon case that's made of questionable materials. You're taking these with you everywhere you go. We were convinced we can talk to 50 people a day that we need to literally talk into backing us to ensure we could raise the $50,000. Set off together on this marketing road trip. Day 2 or 3 of the road trip, we had already hit our $50,000. After we had this second product, which was ChargeKey, it was like, okay, is this gonna be, it's like with the band, a one-hit wonder. We launched the first portable battery charger for Apple Watch. Basically when Apple Watch launched. We got really excited about this thing. And when the Apple Watch launched, there'd be all these articles like 10 reasons why Apple Watch will fail.
I mean, there's so many new releasing items all the time. How do you decide what not to build? Noah, incredibly excited to have you on today's episode. I mean, so many people know Nomad, and I'm excited to dive into the story today. I think it's incredible what you've been able to achieve over, the last, how many years?
Going on 14 or 15. It's been some years.
It's been a while, right? I think it would be so fulfilling to see so many people using your products today from something that started from the ground up. But why don't you share with everyone the story of Nomad?
Yeah, well, no, thanks for having me here, Liam. And it's wild that it's been 14 years since we launched on Kickstarter. And it started with a little idea. I was actually living in Madrid, Spain at the time. We all had Blackberries, and we'd go out and our Blackberries would die. And if you're familiar with the Spanish nightlife, it goes very late. So very often we'd have dead phones quite early. And when someone's phone would die, they'd kind of, I'm tired, I'm going to go home. And I was realizing just this is at a time where the phone was kind of transitioning from the dumb phone to the smartphone, and the BlackBerry, people called them crackberries. You know, people were so glued to those things. But the capability that phones had was really growing, where you could really, be doing emails and BBM and all this stuff. And so I was kind of noticing that there was a lack of really good portable charging solutions. And in Europe, you have the really big bricks that stick out a lot thicker than the American and Australian ones.
Yeah.
And you put it in your pocket and it's just like bulging there. And I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way. So I started looking into it, and I really didn't see anything out there. And, they say that necessity is the mother of invention. And that really was the case. And so I took this idea for a hyper minimalist cable and, talked with some different people and ended up getting some feedback from someone working in mobile devices saying, shape it like a credit card. So it's thin like the way a SIM card is. Back in the United States, I had a really fortunate encounter with a friend of my sister's who became my business partner, Brian, and we still work together 14 years later. We've worked together, we've lived together, and we've been through a lot together. And we have just kept on finding the first products were kind of hard, but after
the first products were a battery power bank that was slimmer.
So the first product was called Charge Card. It was a USB cable the size and shape of a credit card. I kind of have a funny original version of one right here. We did this birds on wire one, kind of a funny one. We did like black and white and then a couple of these. But it's a super minimalist USB cable.
Right.
So you can the idea is that USB ports are becoming ubiquitous. They're everywhere. You can find one and then have a way to charge up. And we still make a kind of a similar product today called the ChargeKey, which is this one right here. So this is the special edition that I did for my wedding, actually. And you can plug in, charge your AirPods from your iPhone. Just simple thing.
Right.
Or one device from another from the wall. So we kept on after we had this second product, which was ChargeKey. Then the product started to just kind of flow, and they started to really. It was like, okay, is this going to be? It's like with the band, a one-hit wonder versus like a band that's producing albums, right? And we started kind of making music.
Yeah. And I think a key part of this entire story is that you didn't set out to build the brand that Nomad is today necessarily. You started with building incredible products, and that's been the outcome.
It's always been about product first with us, and that if you were to hang out with us, get beers at the office and stuff. If you want to start some good, lively debates around the office, you start talking product, and that's what we've always been about. And I was having this conversation a week or two ago in the office with someone, and was kind of talking about what is a brand. We see people sometimes, do we slap a photo, do we do a certain photo shoot or this or that?
Yeah.
And it's like a brand is something that you earn over time, every day, through every interaction with every customer, through the feedback from customers, and building better products, through getting deep into the materials and going, visiting the supply chain, the tannery in Chicago.
So you don't think building a brand is just running random advertising campaigns and hope that it sticks? It's truly about the product.
I want to learn as much as I can from the people that are doing that, because marketing is really fundamental and important, and we do it. But I do see stuff out there where they kind of crop up like overnight, and it's like, okay, what is behind that? And I think when you start to look into it, and it's like a movie set or something, you start to peel it back, and you're like, wait, where's the foundation of this thing? Like, what's behind this wall?
Yeah.
And and I think that for us, the foundation has always been product, material, purpose. What's the purpose of this product? And what do we enable with our customers? So I think the brand has been what we've enabled through the products that we create.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really fun about that is we build products to keep you charged, protected, organized, on the go. So there's different nomad personalities out there. There's there's the jet set. There's a homeless person. There's everything in between, and we want to build products for people, for them to live their life and for them to live their best life. When you think about how essential a phone has become in our modern lives, right? Mm-hmm. People who have the most in the world will have a phone that's almost so similar to the people who have the least.
Right.
And in developing countries and so forth, most people have smartphones these days, and it's a really important tool for development, for education, for health and wellness, particular with girls and access to education and in Africa. And so they're just a very, very, very powerful tool for people to be pulling themselves out of their situation. But at the same time, that's the same tool that some sort of jet set person has, and it's a really remarkable thing, because if you go back 500 years, the stuff that the really wealthy had, there's a huge gap. And so the phone has bridged that. And so it's just we look at it as an important device that we're building for. So like at our core ethos, it's like we wake up in the morning, it's like, I'm going to go make iPhone accessories. It's like, you know what? I'm going to make some badass iPhone accessories. And I believe in this. I believe that we're building great stuff. And
how do you ingrain that culture into the team? You obviously built a team over time, and you mentioned the easiest way to strike up a debate in the office is to start talking about product.
Or color.
I would say that most companies are opposite to that. They're just, everything's about the revenue. Everything's about, the next dollar coming in. And I imagine there's an element of that, we've got to build a business. But you've taken a different approach, that we're going to build a business through building an incredible product. But how do you get that into the team?
So revenue is important, especially these past few years. We've had some things to navigate with COVID and with tariffs and so forth. But I think it's you can have the revenue conversation when you're already sparked and excited about what you're doing to begin with, because it's not a question about like that. It sort of helps answer the why question, the why we're doing this, and the revenue is perhaps more in the what we need to do. Maybe we have a goal, or we've taken this on, or whatever it might be. But when we let's take the other day, a week ago, I went on a walk with one of our product managers, and we're talking about a product that we've been working on for some time, and that we'll be launching maybe perhaps later this year. And I can't even share too much about it, because we're it's still early. But we were just talking about the why. Why is this little doohickey gadget thing? Why are we doing it? Why is it important? Why is this guy who studied engineering at UCSB, and he not that he was questioning it, but I wanted him to feel like to
truly understand,
to see where I'm coming from, and truly getting into the why of this product. And it's like, because when you're working on something that's really cool and interesting, you're going to do better work, and you're going to put more into it, and you're going to feel better about it. I mean, look, life's a precious thing. We do spend a good deal of our time with work, right? It's our livelihood. It's what we need to do. If we can like what we're doing, or care about some aspect of it, or some process, or whatever it is, but if we can get into the meat of it, just makes it more interesting. So it's to your benefit to sort of figure out how to squeeze some juice out of what you're doing.
How have you made sure that you've stayed close to the product? I mean, there's so many other things in a business, right? You hear, and I speak to so many CEOs and founders where, sure, they started with the product and they started growing, and then they started building the team, and then you've got everything else that happens. You start raising money from investors maybe, or, you start opening up offices. Now you've got to deal with remote work. Now you're dealing, there's a million other things. How have you managed to stay so close to the product?
It's so true. Over the years, there was some time ago where I used to like write like a Post-it note thing. It was like, okay, spend 5 minutes a day trying to think of a new product idea, which is kind of a crazy thing to do. But because all of a sudden so much stuff, I want to say stripped away, except it's more like added on.
Added, yeah.
And fortunately, working in consumer goods, I can use our products every day, all the time. So one of the Post-it notes I have above my desk is ABT, always be testing. And I have found that through just extended use testing, you learn so much about your product, any issues, any opportunities for subtle improvement. If you just, there's that old quote from, I think, Microsoft days, eat your own dog food. If you use your product endlessly, and it blows my mind when I see people that aren't doing that, because I think it's the easiest hack to be better at what you're doing is to just use it all the time. I mean, I'll also use competitor stuff if I like it, or if I find it interesting, or the joke around the office, if you see someone using a different one, it's like, oh yeah, I'm testing the competition. But using your products ruthlessly, endlessly, and that's the best test. No matter how many engineering tests you subject something to, and you go to China and a manufacturer, you see the bend test, but the real test is the test of life through, you're jerking something when you're trying to yank it out of the seat back of a airplane, and does it hold up to that? And so extended use testing is just so valuable.
Back in 2012, you used Kickstarter to get off the ground, which I feel was, such a massive tool back then for brands to get off the ground, whether you're mostly physical products. And it's still pretty big today. How do you think that impacted the business? Was there anything you learned out of that?
I'm a huge fan of Kickstarter.
Do you still see cool stuff on there today?
I still see cool stuff. I back cool stuff. I have these really beautiful clocks that were the first project I ever saw that I learned about Kickstarter from. It was a clock that turns a rotation in a full year. And there's really incredible stuff there. And Kickstarter for us was really, truly a Kickstarter. I say that because sometimes it's used as a marketing engine to kind of like...
So you're glad you did it?
Oh, phenomenal. I mean, I'll hear people say like, oh, you should do this and then run a Kickstarter and then do this. And I'm like, well, you don't just run a Kickstarter, but I guess you can. For us, it was like we were living it, eating it, breathing it. We were very much so. We used those funds to build the tooling, to build the product, to kick it forward and get it going, and kind of got the cart in front of the horse just enough. So we had to kind of chase it, and along the way, build other products so we could ship the first people.
How did you get people to the Kickstarter? Like, were you just promoting everywhere?
Well, this is kind of wild. I can't believe we did this. But Brian and I built a trailer that we were convinced we can talk to whatever it was, like 50 people a day, that we need to literally talk into backing us to ensure we could raise the $50,000 that we had, which is our minimum goal. And we were like, okay, we're doing all the numbers. We need to talk to this many people a day. We set off together on this marketing road trip. Day 2 or 3 of the road trip, we had already hit our $50,000. And we were simultaneously, we were like doing real like digital marketing. And this was in 2012. And we were sending stuff out to press and stuff when we had, sending samples. So we very quickly learned, okay, it's all about the actual, what we would consider more regular marketing these days. But we, had this idea of like, we can, we can brute force it at the very least. We can go out and get these people. And it was, we were driving through like Santa Fe and we were like, I think we need to turn around and go back to California and get on with this.
I think that's like the you would look back on those stories all the time and be like, whoa, compared to where you are today. Do you tell those stories when you onboard new people to the team? Do you think back very often?
You know what? That's a great question. We probably should
I feel
share
like you
a bit
should
more.
share the story.
We should.
I mean, so many people would be inspired by it.
We have some
but so
funny
many people
photos.
forget about the what it truly takes to get a brand going. They just see it now and they don't see what it actually takes.
And that was a big thing about Nomad. It was like, okay, I remember like driving the car, Brian's in the back and like on the computer, tethered, and it's like we're using our devices, and we got so like and I mean this in kind of a good way. We got kind of like drunk with it all. Like
Right.
we were very like deeply into this. And
You're
obsessed. It helps you realize what you're doing. And early on too, you don't know exactly. It's kind of like an exploration. You don't know exactly which way you're going. So you're kind of, okay, there's land. Okay, let's go that way. Oh, there's some more. Oh, now we can see even further. Let's go that way. So getting deeply into this helped us early on to navigate forward.
I'm interested in maybe looking at the business aspect of tech accessories. I would say that tech accessories are in many ways a race to the bottom. Everyone's doing the same thing. Cheap little, stores selling shitty little, iPhone cases. But you've taken a very different approach, premium accessory that people love and people continue to come back to. Why did you choose to go down the premium route?
Yeah, there is a lot of junk out there. That is very true. And there's a lot of good junk. I mean, I'm always impressed when I see something that's very inexpensive and it works quite well. But it can be a race to the bottom when it's one person copying another, just doing the same thing with cheaper materials. So for us, we're always kind of looking forward to what is the best. What is the best material? What is the best design? How can we add something more here? And back to what I was sharing about the importance of the phone. Okay, this is a $1,000 or $1,500 device, right? How can we protect it in the best way possible? And not just. And it's really annoying to have to switch your phone up and stuff.
Yeah.
And the way that these everyday carry devices as well, they're everyday carry devices. So if we look at, you and me, we have our shoes, we have our pants, we have our shirt. We probably change these things out most days. But and we spend money on shoes and pants and shirts. But with your iPhone or your keychain or whatever it might be, you're using the same one every single day. So if you have an iPhone case, your kind of, if you want to think of it in a business sense, your amortization of use is it's highly amortized over a long time. Whereas you have a shirt. I have some shirts and drawers I almost never wear.
Yeah.
And so this everyday carry stuff, like I think if you're going to take it in your life journey, which is a very precious thing, you're going to take some of your gadgets with you on a daily basis. In my opinion, you should really choose thoughtful, good ones with good materials, good qualities, good little details, because you're taking these with you everywhere you go. I mean, imagine you were like from an alien planet and they're outfitting you to go explore Earth a little bit. They'd be like, okay, we're going to outfit you with stuff. What are you going to do for like these would be serious decisions that you really thought about. You wouldn't be like, you know what? On this special life journey I'm going on, throw me on an $8 Amazon case that's made of questionable materials or whatever, right? Why not use that opportunity?
What do you think makes it premium?
Well, it depends. So
is it design? Is it the features? Is it the brand? Like, how do you think about that?
It can be different aspects for different products. So if you look at our phone cases, we use really nice leather, and you can kind of has a visceral quality to it. You touch it, you feel it, you literally smell it. It's just.
How do you convince someone to buy it when a big part of it is the touch and the feel, when you're mostly selling online?
That's a great question. So we talk about it. You can read about it. You can kind of go as deep as you want. Videos, third parties. I mean, people will buy them, and we are in stores as well, but we are a lot online. But I think people also will get to know us, and then they'll test us the one time, and then they'll buy it again, kind of knowing what they're getting. But that's
people talk about it amongst each other as well. Or you'll see someone's phone and you'll be like, oh, well, that's a nice case. And then they recommend and word of mouth.
If you think about it, let's say you go to a dinner or something. You put your AirPods or your phone, it's on the table, right?
Yeah.
So these everyday carry devices, they're very much involved in our lives, right? So for better or for worse, it's broadcasting. That's why I'm thinking if you're buying a $1,500 phone, wouldn't you want to have a nice, case for it,
How do you decide what not to build? I mean, there's endless opportunities of things to build. I mean, there's so many products, different types of iPhones, new releasing items all the time. The trend of everyday accessories is coming in, coming out. There's very few products like AirPods or the iPhone that have remained around. How do you decide what not to build?
Through lively debates.
Right. What does that look like in the office?
What not to build is a great question. It used to be about what to build. Okay, early on, it's like, oh, we got another idea. Oh, we need it. We need an idea. Go, amazing. We've been trying to come up with the third. I mean, the first ones were, but then it starts to be like, we got stuff coming from all these different angles. So sometimes in the office, we'll use the word, or on Slack, we have an international team as well. We'll use the word like, is it nomady, or like nomadiness, or like that's too nomad, or that's not nomad enough, so these are lively debates, and also through product champions. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to build something that everyone just kind of like vaguely signs off on. It's like, who is the champion behind this product? I've been the champion for products. My co-founder, Brian, champion of products. The product managers, also the support team that could be championing feedback they've been hearing or experiencing from customers. Anyone at the company can be a champion. There's been champions from finance team. They're doing finance, and they'll be promoting perhaps a certain product detail, because everyone in the company can be involved. And over time, almost everyone at the company has a mark somewhere in the Nomad product sphere. Generally, maybe a little detail, a little update, a little this, a little that. So we have, but yeah, champions is an important thing. Sometimes it's more obvious. Apple's coming out with AirPods. We gotta be there, right? Or Apple Watch was a really interesting one. We've done really well with Apple Watch, and this is a band we launched last year. This is a Stratos band. This is titanium. This is with fluoroelastomer. It's got the magnet here. Mm-hmm. It's a really high quality band. And if you think about it as well, your Apple Watch from one person to the next, they're all the same. So the only way you can really differentiate an Apple Watch to express your style is through the band. So back to why put a nice band versus one of the people copy our products as knockoffs. It's like, I don't know, you're wearing an original Apple Watch. Do you want like an original band for it? Because you can also buy something else.
Well, you said before, so on that point then, and to look at a different way of what to say no to, you said before that the product manager, you went on a walk and you were drilling. Well, okay, why are we building this? Understand it. How do you know when the product is ready? Because, I mean, you can fidget around with it forever, right?
Great question.
Who's making the decision on, all right, we've got it?
Yeah, this is a great question. Brian is often the kind of the ready stage gate guy, and he can go either way, right? Sometimes things are like, yo, can we get this thing out and moving forward? And other times it's like, it really depends. So, and I think to be honest, we've done times where we launched it right on time. We've done times where I've thought we've done it too late. We've done times where we're like too early, or we've had an idea that got switched up midway through, because if you don't launch, you might then have an issue where you have a V2 ready to come out before the V1 came out. So there is something to be said for moving quickly, but not too quickly. I think in our earlier days, we were very, very fast.
If you look back on the journey, what would you say is the product that you're most proud of launching?
Ooh, that is a really good question. This is a funny, okay. We've launched some really cool, interesting stuff. We launched the first portable battery charger for Apple Watch, basically when Apple Watch launched. And what that product showed is we took the Apple Watch thing so seriously. I remember staying up late one night, drinking cheap red wine with Brian, and we were talking about the phone and the history of the phone and going back to the logging days and but how it's not done evolving, it's coming to the wrist, and the future is finally here, and we're building for it. We're Nomad. And we got really excited about this thing. And when the Apple Watch launched, there'd be all these articles like 10 reasons why Apple Watch will fail. And we loved it because our stuff was just killing it. And we had this hyper portable battery. and it was the first one of its kind, and it was a sort of only lived for a couple of years. That
and it
product
was flying off the shelves.
flying. We had people that were really, really mad at us when we were delayed a little bit, and there was this whole we took it seriously, but there was this Reddit thread, and like people were really mad, and it was like sometimes you see that anger, and it's just passion, and I really appreciated those customers.
Would you say Nomad has always been product led? Has that been an intentional part of the story?
I think it's always just. I think it's not even been intentional. It's been organic. I think that's just where we stemmed from originally, and it's where we get excited about. It's where we argue, and when I say argue and discuss, I mean these are good things.
Mm-hmm.
I remember very early on when we were doing the charge key, which is the hyper minimalist cable and the key. There's the question, and so, this is funny. Sometimes when you're discussing, I was all about having like it slightly open so you could hook it on and off, and then Brian convinced me that it's better closed, and then I totally agreed and flipped, and I wanted it closed, and then it's like, and then he's arguing that way. Sometimes you get these things where you kind of like almost take the other side. It's sort of like a mental exercise that just happens. But these deep, passionate conversations is where a lot of, I think, good things come out of it. Sometimes you even see a small decision and it's like, well, why? It's like, no, we purposefully do not want you to be able to easily take it off because we want it with you when you need it, not you're right when you don't. And if it clips off, then it's like those pens where
so you really
you
think
lose the
through
clip.
it. Yeah, right. Yeah.
We're thinking
That's
through it.
very thought through. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of it from that perspective, but when you said it, it's like, well, we want our products to be with you all the time. We don't want you to take it off easy. We want it to be with you. I think there's an element though of traditional marketing. Like there's still, you got to build an amazing product and you got to get it out there. People won't buy it if they don't know about it. You've almost got to win the awareness game. People need to become aware of your products to win, right? So there's an element of traditional marketing for every brand. You can have the best product strategy and the best products on the market, but if your potential customers don't know about it, you'll just never scale to the velocity you want, right? And I guess you need revenue to continue investing in building the product, and it's just this flywheel that continues. What does traditional marketing look like for you today?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I know we've talked a lot about product, but I mean, we're absolutely trying to meet our customers where they are. And we've been on Facebook since the early days, and we're actually really engaged right now with TikTok. We're launching our TikTok shop. We want to meet customers where they are, so we want to always be evolving to connect with people. I think that I guess meeting customers and people where they are and where they live, right? So if we look at 10 or 15 years ago, okay, maybe there's more like Facebook, and then there's more Instagram, and now TikTok is something. So being actively engaged with where people are, I think that's an important thing, and it's also again a way to get feedback. I want to get the feedback from those people as well, and so
you're mostly creating content, Instagram content, TikTok content. Are they just short videos? Are they still content? Like, how do you think about it?
It depends on the platform, and frankly, we're newer to TikTok, so
Okay.
our content. I'm a millennial, and it's funny because it's all of a sudden.
Are you a TikTok watcher?
Well, I sometimes I go in there to check on our account. Before you know it, I'm watching like some video about some funny thing that happened, but it's sort of like one animal riding another animal.
Yeah.
But so. It's really important to be in touch with our customers and our customer base. So we are almost a little bit more like Instagram first, and we need to update our thinking a little bit and embrace a little bit more the other content types that are out there. So we're constantly evolving.
Is it just a machine, just like consistently producing content?
Yeah, a machine would. We have a lot of good people, a lot of good partners, and if you were to bring it all together, I guess you could call it that. But I say that carefully because I see some other systems out there that are really perhaps cranking stuff out. We want to make sure that things are thoughtful, things that will properly represent us, and make sure that our director of marketing is very if she's signing off on something, she wants it to be very good, and it's so there's that fine line as well of like just having fun and producing something, and then like
it's just premium
polishing
throughout the experience, right? Premium product, premium marketing, premium experience, premium, it needs to match the product.
Yeah, and so, but then there can be times where perhaps you might look like something on TikTok, something where it's like, okay, to do this live thing, maybe we can be a little looser, but where do we draw the line? And but even just being engaged with it and thinking about it and having that perspective can help guide things.
How do you think AI will help take your brand to the next level?
This is the
open debate,
the billion-dollar question. Well, I think so. I was just chatting with my brother about it, and we were talking about how well, how's AI gonna impact, and it's gonna impact in so many ways. Even from product design, it's gonna allow you to more to test and even visualize things. You and I could come up with a product concept right now and get visualize it conceptually very quickly. That used to be harder to do. So, but then of course from a marketing perspective, it's sort of gonna supercharge all these different things that are going on. I think it's gonna create a lot of like almost like noise, but maybe even like good noise where they're like connecting with you in a more direct, individualized way.
Are you advising your team or directing your team to use AI, or do you think it'll remove the unique elements of your product? I mean, there's still, I would say today, AI will give you basically a generic answer. Anyone can use it, right? But the human creativity or the human storytelling on your team is maybe a strength.
I think of it like a tool, and if you become overly reliant on the tool and you don't know how to do the original thing, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
But if you're a good craftsperson and you have good tools and you use them the right way, you can work with them to sort of accelerate yourself. But maybe it's like if you still want to know the fundamentals. So my hope is that kids in schools these days are still learning the fundamentals of math, of language, et cetera. But then they can use AI to create with them. I mean, because we had to, in our day, had to, write out the essay and stuff. And now you can just auto-generate. But
I think it'll make people lazy if they're not careful. And you still need the creative element in your brain. Particularly if you want to build product, I believe.
So I've personally found AI interesting and useful as a tool because it's like, wow, all of a sudden I can like do these things. I don't personally am not good at creating visual graphics, for example, but all of a sudden I can do these things. And so it can be a positive to somebody who's got these ideas and stuff, but it can also be a crutch. And I think we do need to be careful about that.
Do you think that AI is making any immediate differences in the tech accessory market today that you're seeing amongst competitors or the way other brands are going to market that you're thinking about actively?
Well, that's partly why I'm out here in Las Vegas doing a little bit of marketing recon, try to stay on top of this stuff because honestly, over the past year and a half, so much of the discussion has been changing and different service providers emerging and different platforms embracing and growing, and other ones perhaps not. So,
is there anything that's sparking your interest now? I think a lot of brands are talking about personalization. I think that's a big thing. I think a lot of brands are talking about they're enabling, say, not needing necessarily an agency to edit things like their website anymore. You're able to just rely on your team with Claude Code. What are you thinking about?
Yeah, these are all areas, and one that comes to me that I think is quite big is for customer support, and I've always thought of our support team as one of the key fundamentals back to what we're talking about a brand. If you use our products for a long time, you're going to have an issue one day. It's just going to happen. If you use a Porsche for 10 years, you're going to go to the mechanic. It's part of the journey. So how we connect with them is really important. And a lot of queries are somewhat basic, or even if they're perhaps nuanced, the right kind of AI tools can help give customers a better experience and then help guide our human support to the best people in the right way so we can give better support to more people that need it. A lot of times you don't even want that. You just feel like, hey, I don't know, I want to like return this thing or like this, there's some basic thing you want to do as quickly as possible. So where AI can come in and actually remove some of the little steps that need to be done that might get slowed down by a human, that can be a positive thing. So it can allow the company to use its resources more purposefully in to whether it's connecting or resolving an issue or whatever it is. So that's an area. So when we look at it and what it's doing in the company overall, I think that it can supercharge as much as we might see it in the broader economy. There's a lot of concern about AI. What jobs might it take away? But at the same time, how is it going to kind of help create productivity? I don't know, but I definitely am curious to see how it plays out over the next few years.
Love it.
In key areas, they're slowing boats down just in these key migration paths so they can reduce whale strikes. Mm-hmm. I love whales. I love wildlife. I love nature. And so if there's way that we can show that you can build in the modern economy in a way that's a little bit more in harmony with nature, you can show that you can be a company that's building consumer goods or that's doing this or that while trying to be building towards something positive. Mm-hmm. And so every detail throughout our process, we can think about these things. Can we be working on a material that's slightly more biodegradable, so there's less plastic waste in the future, or whatever it might be? And so that also keeps things kind of fun and interesting, and it's a big part of who we are.
Love it. I mean, it's so important to the everyday consumer now too, right? And people look for it when they're buying items. Ending on a positive note, alongside sustainability. Next 12 months, what's the number one thing for Nomad to really crack and get right?
Ooh, well, there are some rumors about a certain new device from a certain large company, so that'll be interesting for us to see what happens there. We're always, we always have stuff in the furnace. We always have stuff in the engine cooking, and at this stage of where we're at. Really ensuring that we have the systems and people and operations for the long haul with Nomad. We've been around for 15 years, and ensuring that what we build can continue to grow and also to continue to evolve.
Love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I mean, I think it's so rare. I actually don't know if I've spoken to someone so obsessed with product. I truly do think that most companies are just this revenue machine of hopeful revenue that just continues to grow, and they don't actually understand what it takes. They don't invest in building an amazing product. They don't invest in a product-led culture. They don't. And I think the most interesting thing to me is my comment around how did you build such a product-first culture, and you reiterated with it was just organic. And having such an organic product-led culture and product-led mindset, I think, is something that a lot of people would admire to have. So I'm really excited to see where Nomad goes, and excited for the rumored device from the large company as well.
No, I appreciate it. And great questions, and enjoyed being here today.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.